Yeah, buddy. On today's show, Kawhi Leonard on today's Locked On Kawhi Leonard.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. Been a Clipper fan for 20 years, been covering the team for 5 years on my own personal YouTube channel, Dime Dropper in 3 years right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and get us up to 7,000 subscribers after a game like that. We're that close. Are you kidding me? Let's get to it. You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, the Locked On Clippers daily newsletter at lockedondaily.com. That's where you sign up for that. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about Kawhi, and some more Kawhi because he heard all the news. He probably didn't hear any of it, but he heard what everybody was saying. He probably didn't hear any of it, but he saw that he played badly. He knew he played badly. We needed more from him. We needed more aggression, and we got that. So we're going to talk about this game and what a big win, what a show of resilience this Clipper team showed. They've been resilient all year long, and it's also, this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Head on over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. But 105 to 102 is the final. Clippers winning it, taking home court advantage and bringing it back to Intuit. And there's a lot of things we can say. One of them I'll say is that we didn't even play that great. I thought there were some adjustments made I'll talk about as well. But I always say that it starts and ends with your best player. And when your best player doesn't play well, there is nowhere else to look when you want to start looking at the blame pie than at the top. Kawhi Leonard had 7 turnovers in game 1. He had only 22 points in game 1, and he was 9 for 15 from the field, which is way too efficient to only be shooting 15 shot attempts. From the jump in this game, he was super aggressive. And I talked about in the preview and in the crossover preview with the Locked On Nuggets guys. Oh, by the way, Clipper Nation, if you're on YouTube, I want you to all go over to Locked On Nuggets because this is what Nick did to me last year. So we're going to do it to them. I want you to all go over to Locked On Nuggets and give them a big Clipper Nation in the comment section of their last video. Clipper Nation. And honestly, just do it the entire series. There's Clipper Nation on every single video on YouTube for them. Locked On Nuggets. Show them some love as well. But I talked about with them, are the Nuggets going to be very switch happy with Jamal Murray against Kawhi Leonard? And will they adjust if he's cooking them? Well, not in time, because I counted. Kawhi Leonard created 15 points in the first quarter alone with Jamal Murray guarding him. He scored 12, and he got an assist on a double team with Murray switched on to him to Chris Dunn for 3. And in the third quarter, Kawhi had 4 more points on Jamal Murray. So out of, he had 5 free throws. So if you subtract 5 from 39, out of 34 points that he scored, 16 of them were with Jamal Murray guarding him. And there was one later in the game, like in the fourth quarter, where before Harden threw the ball to Kawhi, had a little, this is good stuff from Kawhi and Norman Powell. I don't know if it's a set play or they just did it, but they kind of exchanged positions on the wing, which sometimes will force the defense to switch. But Jamal Murray did not have to switch. This was one of the easiest, switches where when you're watching it, you're like, no one's even setting a screen. You don't have to switch there. But by all means, if they're going to do that, we're getting exactly what we want. And I thought Kawhi Leonard did such a great job of being quicker in his attack, more deliberate with his attack, attacking gaps, getting 2 feet in the paint. And it was a lot of it where he's starting his move from. He's catching the ball closer to the basket, inside the arc, being more decisive before the help comes. And I thought, besides maybe 1 or 2 plays with Ben Simmons in the game, throughout the game, when they started doubling Kawhi or loading up, the 4 guys on the floor were much smarter about where to relocate. And you got to think the coaching staff said something to them about that. Look, when Kawhi is getting doubled, how are we getting turnovers? Well, maybe you guys aren't giving him, avenues to pass. And Norman Powell, I mean, that was one huge shot he made late. And again, this is what makes me actually very optimistic for these games at Intuit Dome, is that Norman Powell had another game where he shot very poorly. 5 for 12 in game 1, 5 for 14 in game 2. So far in the series, shooting 10 for 26. But you know what I have to say about him? He made the big shots late. That floater when Kawhi was doubled, he got the ball. He did a good job from the weak side, flashing to the middle. Then there was another time where Zubats caught the ball in the middle when Kawhi was doubled, and he put up that push shot. So it's really, that's an adjustment, made by the players. See, the coaching staff probably told him something, but it's all about the players doing it and executing it. I'm a guy that coaches at middle school level, youth level, AAU, but it's about the players. You can preach something. We all have common sense. The coaching aspect is not, and look, I'm going to talk more about Ty Lue's adjustments, but that was just one of the coaching staff's adjustments, is we were much better about the way we handled the Kawhi doubles. But a lot of it just comes down to Kawhi making the right read, being more patient, looking up. And it starts with his aggression. And this was just one of those games where it's just Kawhi Leonard, as the new term is called, magnet ball, where every single shot's just going in. He has these kind of games. He has these kinds of stretches. What makes it special is when he gets to do it in the playoffs. What hasn't been special is how little he's gotten to do it in a Clipper uniform in the playoffs. So again, being at the Intuit Dome Plaza, watching this live with the people, it's just really one of the more surreal experiences of my Clipper fandom. And I would encourage everybody to come to one of them at least. It's such a vibe. It's really a dream come true. And, Thursday is going to be a movie, but Kawhi's really healthy. And we just saw one of the better games in Clipper playoff history by an individual. That's the bottom line. And this is what I like about the playoffs. And this is why I'm kind of a inside the NBA advocate, is that, yes, in the regular season, sometimes they can be lazy with their analysis and not be watching games in the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, people sometimes ding those guys for being simplistic. And, some would say, you analyze the game better than people on TV, all this. I still don't think that I know more about basketball than said panel. Because I'm never going to be able to say that I played in the league like Charles Barkley and those guys. Just never. They have a different level of expertise that I'll never reach. When it comes to breaking down what a defense is doing in the modern NBA schematically, yes, I think I'm good at articulating it to some degree. But what I wanted to make the point about with them is, in the playoffs, their analysis gets better, in my opinion, because despite the fact that, teams make adjustments and there is some complex X's and O's stuff happening, a lot of time it's very simplistic. Your best players got to perform, and if they don't, you're going to lose. And Kawhi Leonard did more than just perform. He did it on both ends. His help defense, and there were times late in this game where I got nervous, right? We haven't seen the late in games, the Denver Nuggets are lights out with their crunch time offense in terms of, when we look back at the last couple of years, that Murray, Jokic pick and pop, so hard to guard late. Jamal Murray's had several game winners in the playoffs against the Lakers. We know how that goes. And on our side, Harden, I was talking about last game, Harden looks like a better closer than Kawhi. Well, this was one of those games where he says, shut up, Darian, shut up, Dime. I can still close. And we haven't had many of these games as a Clipper, I can't lie. And it's not about the game-winning shot. It's about making those big shots late against pressure, against good defenders, and he absolutely did that. And you know what I talked about with Kawhi is, mid-range shots stopping on a dime versus coming to a full stop. When he's stopping on a dime the way he did going to his right for that pull-up against Aaron Gordon, and by the way, I talked about this when we beat Cleveland a couple weeks ago. When Kawhi Leonard is going up against the likes of Evan Mobley, when we beat New York against the likes of OG, now in this game, Aaron Gordon, and he's getting buckets on them like they're just another guy, that's when you know Kawhi is looking like peak Kawhi, which is one of the 10 greatest small forwards to ever play this sport. and he plays for the Clippers and chose to do it. And me saying those words had absolutely no meaning, no results behind them, and we still haven't accomplished anything in this series. But the fact that I'm even getting to witness this is like, because I almost Mr. Team, the Kawhi era is over, blow it up. He was never going to be healthy in the playoffs, almost as a coping mechanism. And I will gladly admit I'm wrong if we can get more memories like this by winning this series, because, I love the way Kawhi Leonard plays basketball. People have been very hip to my criticisms of him, and some have obviously disagreed massively, which is totally fair. But a lot of it's just because I've been a disappointed fan, and a lot of us have been. And it felt hopeless at times with him. And the most frustrating thing about it all is that we know how good he is when healthy. He's not a Chris Paul or a Blake Griffin where it's like, if all the stars align and everything goes well, they can lead a team to a championship. This is a guy who did it and then chose to come here. No one in NBA history has won a Finals MVP and then left, except for him. And he chose here, and we haven't reaped any of the benefits, except for, the part he played in 2021. It was special seeing him in this game, making that big shot late against Aaron Gordon, hitting that turnaround it was also against Aaron Gordon, the interception late in the game. And we did such a great job of doubling Jokic, and then the loading up on the other guys. We exposed the Nuggets spacing. When they had two guys right next to each other, Kawhi did a great job of playing both at once and making Jokic forcing Jokic to make a tough pass and forcing him to turn the ball over several times. I thought our help defense and our hands in the passing lanes, our anticipation off of those Jokic double teams was sublime. And I'm going to be talking about more of those adjustments coming up. But Kawhi Leonard, 39 points, 3 rebounds, which is kind of low for him in a game like this, but it is what it is because we got out-rebounded 50-32. Oh, my God. That's something we definitely got to improve next game. There's no doubt. 15 offensive rebounds for Denver. So, the thing is, we didn't even play that great. We can play better than this. It's almost like we honestly should have. I think we played better in game 1 as a team. It's just Kawhi was insane. Nobody scored more than 18 points besides Kawhi. He had 39, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 1 turnover. How about that assist-to-turnover ratio? 5-1 compared to the other day? 15 for 19 from the field is the most ridiculous part of it all, and 4 for 7 from 3. He literally went 11 for 12 from 2. I mean, he's a machine when he gets going, and it's just a privilege to watch it on our team. Coming up, we're going to talk more about Kawhi and more about this game because, I don't even need to specify. Let's talk more about the adjustments that we made. Let's talk more about the flow of the game, and of course, Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The thing about FanDuel right now is, and I'm looking at the odds for the NBA, we're looking at NBA Finals, and guess who's surprisingly jumped up to number 6 in the odds? It's your LA Clippers. That's my best Eric Smith impression. Anyway, the Lakers are 5th. I don't know how, after they just got absolutely walloped on their own home floor. But anyway, if you want to bet on the Clippers to win the chip on FanDuel, it's plus 2,900. We have the 6th best odds, and I guarantee you if we win this series, those odds are only going to go up. So make sure you go to FanDuel because the NBA playoffs are here, and right now when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. From 3-pointers to steals to dimes, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's FanDuel.com. All right. Mr. Leonard had something for all of us to bounce back from his performance the other day. When we talk about some of the main stats in this game, we shot 48%, they shot 47%, so pretty even there. They shot 44% from 3, and we only shot 38%, and we still won on their home floor. Plus, they got 10 more free throw attempts than us. So again, it's 2 straight games they've gotten double-digit more free throws. And let me just say something about Jokic. I have such respect for Nikola Jokic. In 2016-17, he lit us up for a triple-double, and I remember looking at my dad, watching the game with him, and I was a freshman at CSUN, and I was like, who is this guy? Because he's really good, and no one's talking about him, and he's going to be a star one day if this is how good he is. And of course he became a star, and that take aged very well, but I never would have expected him to be anything like this. So I have the utmost respect for him, but some of his flopping and flailing was absolutely egregious. Some guys that are knocking into him are so much lighter than him, and he's acting like he got hit by a cannon. I get it, they're fouls and you're trying to exaggerate, but come on, man. Like, you're one of the best players that's ever played the game. Like, don't be Luka. That's what I have to say. We've already dealt with that flopper, Luka. We don't want to see that for Jokic. Just as a basketball fan. But I mean, here's the thing about Jokic. I fully think, like, and this is just shows the standard as basketball fans that we hold Jokic to. 26, 12, and 10 was his stat line, but he, like, fully, in my opinion, cost him the game in many ways. One, defensively, no solution to the Harden pick and roll is a good one, or any pick and roll. It's either he drops and we get our layup line, or he throws two on the ball, or he goes to the level of the screen and throws two on the ball like he was doing late, and we get 4-on-3 situations. There were a lot of good looks we got late in the game because of those, throwing two on the ball. But I think his defense was better this game than last. However, he turned the ball over 7 times, including 3 in the fourth quarter, and then he shot 6 for 10 from the free throw line. And I thought last game we were lucky enough that Jokic missed 2 free throws late and we had to take advantage of the game because he was not going to do that again. Well, I was really wrong because he did it again and he was worse from the line. So, I mean, if Jokic makes 2 of those free throws late in the game, throughout the game, and he goes 8 out of 10, like, who knows what the end of that game could look like. So, I mean, and if you were wondering, like, well, okay, Darian, like, how'd the Clippers make it tougher for him? We talked about what strategy we're going to use. A lot of fans, a lot of people wanted to do the whole let Jokic cook, limit other guys. But nah, we wanted to do the let other guys beat us strategy. On the pick and pop, we had Zoo in drop coverage, and then whoever was guarding Murray would kind of peel switch or late switch when Murray would throw the ball out to Jokic. Whoever was guarding Murray would then switch on a Jokic on that pass. So he could try to intercept that pass or deflect it, but he would be in front of Jokic on the pick and pop when he got the ball. But that caused a mismatch, and we didn't care if he was in the middle of the floor. We were doubling on that mismatch and then forcing them to move the ball, and then our defense would rotate. But this is why I thought that before the series, when I said that's a strategy we could use, why I thought that that's not a horrible strategy, because we have so many guys, and it's shown in our defensive rating that's been 3rd in the league this season. We have so many guys that are very sharp off ball, that have really good hands, great anticipation, and just do a good job of shrinking the floor, making the floor look smaller. Chris Dunn is absolutely phenomenal in this regard. I mean, this is awesome for someone like Chris that's always been on bad teams, that hasn't really had this kind of exposure since the NCAA tournaments with Providence, and he's getting a chance to show everyone how good of a defender he is, how solid of a role player he is in this league, and the deflections he had late and the diving on the floor. And I mean, he has been such a big part of this team. I'm okay with the 65 game stuff for the NBA awards, but the minute limit that's going to prevent him from being all defense this year is an absolute disgrace. Because we have one of the best defenses in the league. We've had a point of attack defense problem for several seasons. And he has come in with Derrick Jones Jr. and said, let's just completely change that. And let's have an actual point of attack defense around Zubac. And look what can happen. And now there's this guy named Kawhi Leonard that's getting added to our defense off the ball. So when we look at how we were doubling Jokic, we were exposing, and this is going to be the next adjustment for them, how bad their spacing was when their best player got doubled. Gordon, Brown, Westbrook, if you look at the way that they were spacing the floor late in this game, standing next to each other caused 2 turnovers in the fourth, one of which was that last one. I couldn't believe Jokic threw it away like that. I could not believe he threw it away. Like, there's an element of them not spacing well and then him throwing it away. Of course, we did a great job doubling, anticipating, attacking the ball the way Kawhi did. But, there's 2 sides to every coin, and I'm not the Locked On Nuggets host, but it's relevant to say. And then there was another one late in the game where I believe it was Westbrook and Brown standing right next to each other. It was Gordon and Brown in the fourth quarter right next to each other, and Jokic tried to flip it underneath, and he turned the ball over. And then there was the one on the wing early in the fourth that was usually a pass he makes in his sleep. Lob pass to Peyton Watson. Not an easy pass, but a pass that he makes, and he threw it way over his head out of bounds. So our doubles and making other guys beat them and just anticipating passes, Xing out and having one guy take two players on the weak side, that kind of stuff, it really exposed bad spacing from the Nuggets, and it was a great adjustment by our coaching staff. We did a great job getting Kawhi Leonard the ball throughout the game and emphasizing that, look, we need to go at Murray in the pick and roll. Did that all game long. It was honestly a lot of what I didn't say. Like, it was a totally different direction. I thought we were going to do more Harden zoo pick and roll. I thought we were going to let Jokic beat us and limit other guys. We didn't do any of that. We actually went all in on Kawhi. And I like the late game lineup with Norm and Derrick Jones Jr. And I said Norman Powell, maybe he shouldn't close. Well, look at that big shot he made. And the Nuggets, I mean, the turnovers they had in the fourth were costly. And I thought that Harden turnover that we had was costly. I was like, oh my God, that might cost us the game to make it, I believe, 96 all. But Norman Powell made some great plays late. That drive and dish for Zubats and one, the two floaters, and then the three ball when MPJ threw the ball away. That turnover and then the Westbrook turnover in the backcourt that led to a Derrick Jones dunk, and all the Jokic turnovers were really costly for Denver. When we look at the turnover count in this game, it's been the difference in both games. They had 20. Oh, sound familiar? And we had 11, and we had 21 points off of their turnovers. So that's been the story of this series in both games. Whoever turns the ball over 20 times is going to lose. So taking care of the ball is of the utmost importance. James Harden had 4 turnovers, so not as good of a game for him. But he still did enough to help us win the game. I haven't even mentioned him, but I still think he did enough to help us win the game, and he had a ton of hockey assists late. Speaking of hockey, Kings, 1-0 on the same night as the Clippers. If you're a Kings and Clipper fan, nothing better. But the Norm stuff, leaving him in late and having that lineup with Derrick Jones and Norm and then having Chris Dunn in, it all worked out. He pushed all the right buttons, Ty Lue, and we gave Zubats more minutes. We didn't have him sit out for 7 minutes in the second half. He and Kawhi played the whole fourth quarter. Zoo finished with 40 minutes. Kawhi finished with 39. Ben Simmons only got 8 minutes. I really thought that this was a very well-coached game by our staff. The way we defended Jokic, the way we responded to what they threw at us last game. Because everybody wants to shit on the coach when it goes bad. Excuse my language. When it goes bad and they don't do things right. So when things go right, I'm going to talk about Ty Lue, who finally has his best player available for him. Yeah. Let's see how good these other coaches are. It's all about talent. And coming up, I'm going to talk about the other guys that helped Kawhi, because even though it was a kind of a carry job, he still didn't do it by himself. I'm going to be talking about that coming up. Oh, yeah. Clipper Nation. Unfortunately, I didn't release an episode on Tuesday, so you know what that means. We're going to have another on Monday, I'm sorry. So that means we're going to have another on Tuesday. I'll probably record another one when I wake up. I got to rewatch the game, though. We got to do the rewatch. This is the first game I made sure I did the rewatch before I recorded. This one, we just got to get this one out because I'm on a high. And Clipper Nation needs their fixation in the morning, wherever you may be. So I'm going to try to get that out for you. And then we're going to do another one. What should we talk about? What adjustments the Nuggets should make? Should we talk about how good Kawhi was again? I mean, there's so much to talk about when you're in the playoffs. So it sucks to be one of the 14 locked on hosts that aren't in the playoffs. That's for sure. But anyway, sorry, guys. Now, when you look at the adjustments made in this game, we actually had the same matchups to start the game defensively, except another adjustment. And first of all, I'm not trying to act like these adjustments are rocket science, but like, if everybody thinks they have all the answers when it comes to coaching in the league, then when they actually do what you're saying, are you not going to give them credit for it? Because 99%, I'd say 95% of the people that criticize NBA coaches have zero clue what's actually going on the floor in terms of scheme, what teams are doing on screen and roll, and all that kind of stuff. So, like, that's just how it is. Now, Kawhi on Aaron Gordon was a good change because James Harden got abused on the glass late in the game. I had really not many defensive criticisms of Harden in this game, so that matters. Despite the fact they didn't shoot as well, he was 7 for 17 in this game, 4 for 11 from 3. Had a really rough first quarter. He was dribbling off his own foot. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists. He had 8 points in that second quarter, and it was later in that second quarter, and that got him going. He had a nice 3. beautiful outlet, and then another three and a floater. So right there, 8 points. We took the lead after being down majority of the first quarter. But yeah, that was a good adjustment to have Kawhi guarding Aaron Gordon, Harden on Michael Porter Jr. But Norman Powell, start the game, we could not make a three. We were 2 for 9 as a team on threes. Norman Powell was 0 for 5. Of course, Kawhi was the one that was, really carrying us in that first quarter. But Zoo also had some really nice, finishes around the basket. And Jokic was in drop to start the game. And I honestly don't think he was doing too badly. And then randomly, as the game went on, they switched to having him in the level of the screen, or at the level of the screen. And again, I think they just want to throw out different coverages. I would say do more drop coverage if I'm them, because it looked okay in the first quarter. They were winning by 6, but there's really no great solution for what they can do. And we also made we had a different substitution pattern. We took Zubats out of the game in the first quarter with 6 minutes and 20 seconds left in it for Ben Simmons. We were down by 4. So that was weird. We gave him like a short rest and then brought him back in when it was 21-26. So we only got outscored by 1 point with him out. But immediately Ben Simmons came in and had a layup as a screener and pick and roll. I thought he was better. He wasn't too bad. But again, we minimized his role a little bit. 8 minutes. We only went 9 deep again. No coffee. So it was Bogey, Ben, Derek, and Nico off the bench. Ben had 2 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist on 1-for-1 shooting, that being his only shot in 8 minutes. And he was flat ±0. So honestly, that's fine. He did his part, I guess. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard had 12 points in the first quarter on 5 for 5 shooting, but we were down 31-25. It was not the smooth start that we got off to in game 1. And then, my notes in the second and third quarter, the first note is Kawhi still cooking to begin both quarters. But we were missing every open three for a while. We did a good job with the non-Joker minutes when DeAndre Jordan was in, and it was really funny. I love DJ to death. Soon to be the second best center in LA Clipper history in terms of the LA Clippers portion of this franchise. So omitting Bob McAdoo. And I love Chris Kaman, but he just didn't play enough meaningful basketball for me to be in the conversation with DJ and Zoo. But 2010 Chris Kaman is a demon. One of the biggest things that's wrong with the world is that Chris Kaman's 2009-2010 season does have no highlight reel on YouTube. But DJ, when he was in, we were comfortable throwing Zoo out on the level of the screen and just get the ball out of Murray's hands, because we're like, if he passes to DJ on the short roll, what's DJ going to do? You know what I mean? So we were causing turnovers with that, multiple turnovers on Murray. And, if only Bogey and Norm were hitting shots in the first half, if Bogey could hit any shot, we would have beaten them handedly. Bogey had some good defensive moments, though, including the steal he had on Westbrook. But he had another donut. He literally has not scored in this series. 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers on 0 for 5 shooting and 0 for 1 from 3. So we literally only got 14 points off our bench. Again, Westbrook tied our bench by himself. So they've won the bench battle both games. They need to be better for us. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Kawhi was great. 39 points on 15 for 19 shooting. We're not going to get that every single time. So we need our other guys to be better. Thought Nico broke the ice, the cold spell pretty nicely. And then, of course, as I said, Harden in that second quarter did his thing. We outscored the Nuggets 30-21 in the second. So really solid defensive quarter. Started with Jokic being out of the game. And then, we were able to score the ball. Harden and Kawhi each had their little turns. Nicholas Batum played 18 minutes. He had 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals, and 1 block, and no turnovers. And he was 2 for 5 from the field, and all his shots were threes. The guy is great. And, he's part of those defensive, moments, those defensive schemes where, we're trying to shrink the floor. We're trying to, make Jokic's windows look smaller, passing the ball, all that stuff. And Nico's a big part of that. The other bench player, the only other one I haven't really mentioned in terms of stats, Derek Jones Jr., 6 points for him, 2 rebounds, 1 turnover on 3 for 7 shooting and 0 for 2 from 3 in 19 minutes. It would have been nice if he had made one of those threes, but I thought he was really solid overall. Does what he does. I think he's going to hopefully has some nice dunks and nice big plays at home to get the crowd going nuts at Intuit. Definitely, we can even do an episode on just what Game 3 at Intuit even means. How much, this is a historic event in Clipper history. But Kawhi's buzzer beater, how about that at the end of the second quarter? Oh my God. We had a Kawhi buzzer beater. We had that Norm buzzer beater in the plaza. We had that James Harden. Every single game I've been to, watch party, we have a buzzer beater at the end of one quarter. Norman Powell against the Warriors before halftime, Kawhi Leonard before the again in this game before halftime, and James Harden after the first quarter the other day. But yeah, that by the way, Kawhi and Zoo came out in the third quarter with about 5 minutes and 30 seconds left, get their rest, and then they both played the entire fourth quarter. The third quarter, though, was very trading baskets. I remember saying that in the moment, and then I look at the score, 24-23. Nuggets outscored us in the third. It was very trading baskets, two good defenses. We were doubling Jokic, forcing other guys to beat us. Harden made one really big three in that quarter, and we forced 6 turnovers, which was really good. But that fourth quarter, man, I mean, Kawhi Leonard closing. I've had some major doubts about the way Kawhi Leonard's closed. He often tends to lose his legs. He's over dribbling. He's taking too deep of shots. None of that was a thing in this game. He had his legs. I mean, if he's stopping on a dime and pulling like that, going to his right with that kind of acceleration late in games, that's not typical of what we've seen from Kawhi as a Clipper. It hasn't been. And I'm happy that we got this, literally, because, I don't have the clutch stats in front of me, but how many times Kawhi, with the Clippers, looks kind of gassed in a game, short on his shots, long, a lot of ISO dribbling, and everyone's standing around watching. And there was a lot of standing around watching him in this one too, but the difference is he's making shots. That's the difference. It's still ISO ball. See, everybody always says the coach isn't running anything. It's all ISO. Yes, it's ISO against who you want to ISO. And if you're Kawhi and you're on this kind of time, it don't matter who's guarding you. ISO Kawhi is good offense. If you go back and watch, because I haven't seen it yet, right? The Bulls 6 rings. If you go back and watch Kawhi with the Raptors or Kobe with the Lakers, you're telling me ISO for them is not a huge part of how they win championships? Because it is. Tim Duncan post-up is not a big part of why they won championships? It is. At the end of the game, it is ISO ball. So, somebody was saying, should we run more plays to get Kawhi? If Norman Powell walking by Kawhi Leonard and exchanging positions with him from corner to wing before Harden can get up the floor is a play, that's pathetic. People do that in pickup basketball. To tell me that is some kind of off-ball action that gets Kawhi going? No. He did it, and he flashed to the elbow and got the ball. And Harden made a great pass. That's nothing. That's coaching staff? No, that's Kawhi. That's Kawhi Leonard. So speaking of Kawhi Leonard, big 3 in the fourth quarter. And I love his transition 3, the pop, the bounce in his game was just something special. The Jokic doubles were working out pretty well. Bogey had some good defensive moments. But it was playoff Kawhi. It was Norman Powell. The offensive rebounding was scaring me, though, late. It looked like for a second we were about to give up the game again for offensive rebounding again, which was very scary. The the MPJ 3 when Harden threw the ball away was terrifying, but then they had their moment where MPJ lost the ball and Norman hit a 3 to make it 103-100. But, the bad turnovers, man, the way we were able to force them with our defense and Kawhi making that big shot, stopping on a dime. The closing lineup, Chris Dunn plus the big 4 in the end. It was Derek for a bit before that, but I thought it was pretty solid overall, and it all worked out. Kawhi Leonard had 7 points in the fourth quarter against Aaron Gordon specifically, and 12 in the quarter as a whole. What a performance. As far as James Harden, he had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Very solid defensive game from him, I think. 4 turnovers on 7 for 17 shooting and 4 for 11 from 3. Genuinely believe Harden's been as good as you can be for what his role is on this team with these first 2 games, and that's reflected by a 1-1 series. So as Harden didn't have as good of a game as he did in game 1, but he did the little things better in game 2. There were less moments where I was like, come on, James, play better defense. Second half, his defense was better than the first half, and that matters when it comes to winning at high levels. Norman Powell, 13 points, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 turnover on 5 for 14 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3. Hopefully he'll take the momentum from the end of the game into game 3 because role players tend to shoot better at home, and I love Norman Powell, but he's proving that he was more of a role player than a star caliber guy right now, and that's okay. Zubac's double-double machine, 16, 12, and 4 assists, 1 steal, just 2 turnovers on 60% shooting, 6 for 10 from the field, 4 for 5 from the foul line. Listen, this guy's been tasked with the toughest job in this series, and he's doing a hell of a job. Jokic was 8 for 16. We only let him get 16 shots off. So we'll take that. They got 15 from MPJ with 15 rebounds. Wow. Jamal Murray, 23 points and shot really well, but it didn't really matter. They turned the ball over too much. And then Chris Dunn, 5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, no turnovers on 2 for 7 shooting and 1 for 4 from 3. Crazy part is I only think we're going to shoot better because they can't guard us. So buckle up, baby. I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. It already is Tuesday, but we'll have another one today. Just why not? Because we can and we should, and we like talking the Clippers right now because it's playoff time. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where a vlog of the viewing party, including fans' thoughts after the game, will be out by the time you listen to this. And of course, subscribe to this channel. 7,000 subs. Need it. Like I need air. Like I need this series win. And remember, make sure to comment Clipper Nation on the Locked On Nuggets channel. The age-old proverb continues: Go Clippers.